and welcome to Mythic Tarantino, where we analyze the films of Quentin Tarantino from a mythological perspective. How are you doing, Nick?
Doing good. Doing good. Classic
Now,
audio problems, but fixed.
yeah, we got them fixed. Um, so I was really looking forward to this movie for a couple of reasons.
I was looking forward to it for probably one of the reasons why you were looking forward to it,
Yeah,
which
because
is
you
this is
haven't seen it.
yeah, this is the only one that's new to me.
Exactly. So that's exciting.
And it's a good one.
Um, and I will call it my Jackie Brown.
Okay, so calling Jackie Brown his best movie, um, uncontested. I feel like before watching this movie, I feel like Jackie Brown was just head and shoulders above any other option. I feel like I still like Jackie Brown more, but this is a contender. This is a good one.
Good. Okay. Wow. That's good. I'm glad that you feel that way.
I do think that it's not a like to me like a true mystery movie is a movie where you could where the clues are laid out and you can figure it out yourself.
Hmm.
um I don't think you have like you I don't think you have enough information to get the full story, although we are kind of putting the cart before the horse here because
A little
we have to
bit.
do the quotes. Do you have a quote?
I'm glad you asked me that, Nick, because this was
Hmm.
a movie. This was the movie that I really wanted to do a quote for, because this is my favorite quote of any of his movies. Um,
Is it very near the start?
Very close to start. It's
Okay.
I wonder if it's the same quote that you chose.
It was one of two options that I picked for myself. Go ahead.
It's a long quote, so I'm cutting it down to the
Okay,
essence.
it's not the same one.
Okay. The man who pulls the lever that breaks your neck will be a dispassionate man. And that dispassion is the very essence of justice. For justice delivered without dispassion is always in danger of not being justice.
That was the second option, actually. The first option was when the hangman catches you, you hang.
Yeah, hang. Yeah. And
So
I think both of these quotes are extremely apropos of the themes of the movie.
yeah. So I would like to start off with a let's call it a controversial statement, which is hateful eight is fully a red herring. Like there are 10 major characters, and I couldn't figure out a way to
Oh.
make eight of them the hateful eight.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
you've got the major, the bounty hunter, the driver, the murderer, the sheriff. The murderer is
Domergue?
Damagu. I've in my head I just divided them into archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
So the murderer, the sheriff, the hangman, the general, the cowboy, and Bob,
Mexican
and the
Bob.
brother. Yep.
Yeah.
And so
I don't
that's
think
10 characters in full. And what two characters would you remove to get to the hateful eight?
who
These
would
are
you
people who
remove?
are that's the thing. That's why I think that the hateful eight is a red herring.
There
Uh,
there are a lot of red herrings in this.
yeah. So if I had to pick two, probably the driver and probably the brother. Because
Are not
the
the Hateful
drive,
Eight.
yeah, because the brother only shows up at the very, very end, and the driver is kind of just a bystander.
Yeah.
But this actually sort of calls back to Kill Bill volumes one and two, where the titular Bill was talking about the crazy 88 and his
Ah,
and one of the things that he said about them was there wasn't actually 88 of them. They just thought it sounded cool.
yeah. And it does. Because it does have a what we poets call a assonance to it. Hateful eight.
Yeah. So I think that's a red herring. I also think that the hats are a red herring
Uh-huh.
because the hats are like a big Chekhov's gun throughout the entire movie, with people taking off hats and putting hats back on, and
It being a haberdashery.
it being a haberdashery that you're not allowed to wear a hat in.
Yeah,
And
I never really, that's one of those jokes that I never really got. I So they call it the haberdashery as a joke because they don't because she doesn't allow hats.
I think that's the way it.
Okay.
I think that's it. Yeah. So there's all this like swapping of hats, and people will like take off like a black hat and put a gray hat on and do all this. And I tried really hard. I really tried to like have a to develop a through line where the hats met something, but
I
I
I
couldn't do it. And I
yeah,
think it's all just a big old red herring.
it could be. I also had that thought, similar thought, and it just felt like the imagery of a like a turtle shell game.
Oh, people, yeah, because people are taking off and removing hats all the time,
Yeah. And
or taking off and putting on hats.
the whole idea of this is another movie with a bunch of hidden identities,
Yeah,
and people hiding who they really are. Because I think you're right. The audience is never allowed to guess ahead on what's going on. Because Samuel L. Jackson knows all the information that he needs to solve the mystery, and he doesn't tell the audience until very late.
he does tell the audience that he's suspicious of Bob very early on,
That's true,
but
but he doesn't say
I d-
why.
yeah, he gives like a couple of like little examples of like where he's like, oh, that doesn't sound like something Minnie would do. You don't, oh, you know,
Yeah,
but a lot of
just very
a
minor.
lot of his a lot of his suspicions are just being held in his head. I think we're all just along for the ride. I don't think the goal is to have this be like the Murder on the Orient Express.
Hmm. Going back to our quotes,
Mm,
the Hangman one we'll get to because of the ending.
yeah,
But what about the Oswaldo quote
yeah.
about
Like
justice?
the part that I wrote down was actually not contained within your version of the quote.
Uh-huh.
I have the good part about frontier justice is that's very thirst quenching.
Yeah.
The bad part is that's apt to be as wrong as right.
Yeah.
I think the later part of the quote that you gave was a little bit more descriptive.
But yeah, you're right. That other part about it being thirst quenching is also important because that
And
is yeah.
it is also what happens at the very
Well, we might see.
that was
We
well,
might be we might be surprised.
I
Um,
I'm gonna enjoy hearing you try to explain how that was dispassionate.
okay. I have a lot of things to explain about the ending, so stay tuned.
Okay, gotcha.
Um, so I find it first odd that one of the killers is the ones that gives this speech, or one of not the killers, but one of the gang members is the one
I
that gives
think
this speech.
they do seem to put a lot of effort into create setting the scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole reason why they let the general live, is because it makes the whole scene more convincing.
Mm-hmm.
So having a hangman talk about the righteousness and necessity of the hangman might just be a case of
Building
them.
realism.
Yeah,
It's like Joe Cage writing his life story.
yeah.
That's Joe Cage's life story that he was figuring out, you know,
Hmm.
not whoever he is. That was one of the greatest line. That was one of the best lines too. Is So am I in your life story? You just entered. We should also take into account like this is also a Western.
Yeah, and
And yeah.
it has a very classic Western through line, which is characters being haunted by the scars of the Civil War.
Hmm.
That's a it's kind of like a Western motif.
Hmm.
And something that
Definitely.
is kind of interesting is that all of the people who aren't in the gang, who aren't gang members, all fought in the Civil War.
Hmm.
Like we have both of the bounty hunters, the general, and the sheriff, the four
Hmm.
the four characters who weren't in the gang, all
Yeah, they were in the
had a
Civil
history in
War.
the war. Yeah,
Yeah, and the gang members were probably, what do you think the gang members were doing during the Civil War?
probably doing illegal shit.
Yeah, probably just out for themselves. And
Yeah,
because what you can say about the North and the South is they were fighting for something greater than themselves, you know?
yeah, yeah. Even like the South, which is clearly the bad guys. Like the individual soldiers were fighting for loftier goals.
Yeah,
Even if the general trajectory, or even if the general goal of the war was a little bit more nefarious.
yeah, yeah, which we don't have to really get into.
Yeah, let's not.
We'll save that for
The after
uh
show.
the after show. In the basement with Jody. Yeah, so there's even a moment in the movie too where Samuel L. Jackson sits down with the general and is like, we share something deeper than race, even. We shared a battlefield together. That's a deep connection they share that the gang members don't have.
Yeah,
So they're, you know, the South is bad. And I think that you can typify the entire South in the character of the general, where basically he saw this whole thing happen, this travesty. They were like, so what do you think? And he's like, I don't care about any of these people.
yeah.
So he was sort of complicit in the gang's evil doings.
Well, yeah, like both of the characters that fought on the side of the South are despicable in individual ways. You know,
Hmm.
the post-war war crimes that the sheriff did were, just very evil, and the general in his
Yeah, but also
behavior during the war.
I think it's also fair to say Samuel L. Jackson's war crimes were evil too.
Yeah, Sam Jackson was pretty bad.
Yeah, like not only did he kill a bunch of innocent Southern boys that haven't even fought the war yet, did he
Mm-hmm.
kill them? But he killed like almost as many people, Northern soldiers, in the fire. So
Yeah, yeah. I got the sense that for him the war was less about ideology and more about just being a very hateful person.
hateful, did you say?
Yeah,
Or I
there
would
there
also
there, there might there might not be eight of them, but they are hateful.
I would also say that when he committed those war crimes, he was not dispassionate.
Yeah, he talks at length about how much enjoyment he got out of killing Southerners during the war.
Yeah. And it's the same with killing the general's son also in a much crueler way than it could have been done,
Yeah,
you know.
to the point where
He had all the right to kill him, but
yeah, it's difficult to imagine a more cruel way of doing it.
mhm. So I think there is a lot in this movie where people do change also.
Yeah, like I don't want to like come out and say that the movie is an allegory for Reconstruction.
Yeah, but it's kind of
that's going a
is.
little too far.
It kind of
Yeah,
is though.
because yeah, the where the where Oswald, who has a lot of says a lot of interesting things throughout the movie, also says just pretend we're
Where
back in the
he
war.
yeah, where he splits the
The,
haberdashery.
the fireplace is Georgia, and the bar is Philadelphia.
Yeah, I got the sense that the he wanted to make like there's a little tiny chess game in the middle of the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just thought of something actually. How many pawns there are there in a chess game? How many squares in row how many rows of squares are there?
8.
Mm,
Mm.
hmm. But
That is a leap.
yes, 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 yes. So, the haberdashery is a chess game expanded out in the macro,
Mm-hmm.
and the haberdashery is also America in the micro. Yeah, I do think that I think it he made it pretty clear that the haberdashery
Was America.
was America. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And we'll
and
get
the
to more of that later.
yeah. I did kind of wonder if kicking the door down and nailing it shut could also have been like a metaphor for the Civil War.
How so?
You kind of like you break your like you break these barriers down violently and then have to repair
Yeah,
them in a way that's also kind of violent and uh
and gets the job done. Like that is
yeah,
Reconstruction, right? It's
yeah,
like it's like we all know we should just put a new doorknob on it, but we don't have time for that. We have to get it use it you have to use it right away.
yeah.
So
We smash this door down and a blizzard is happening outside. Just get some nails. You need two
yeah,
boards, you know.
that's a extremely good point, Nick. Wow, I didn't see it that way. What else? Let me see if I have anything else about it being America. They're kind of all stuck in the cabin together. They're like forced to be there together and figure things out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
like they're
now the North and the South have to figure have to like live together now.
mm. Yeah,
Uh,
they do learn to live together.
they
Uh,
do.
it's it's the people who believe in something. It yeah at the start it's the people from the north and the people of the south are at each other's throats, and then at the end of the movie it's the people who believe in something against the people who just are criminals.
Yeah. All right. Don't give away too much. Don't give away too
Okay.
much. But you're completely right. And it's so if America is split up in the haberdashery and the north is
Mm.
on the bar side and the south is on the fire side, what represents the underneath?
I would also like a one little jab was at the is that Georgia was on fire. I think
Hmm.
that was an interesting little choice to have the fireplace be Georgia.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Uh,
yeah, go on.
yeah. Well, Quentin Tarantino definitely thinks a lot about race in America, and
He does.
if you spend a lot of time thinking about race in America, then your thoughts go to the Civil War,
Yeah, you're
at
probably going
least
to end up in the
occasionally.
Civil War. This is Quentin Tarantino's definitive comment on race in America. And you're right. That's been one of his huge major themes throughout all of his movies.
I don't think this movie is about race in the same way that like Jackie Brown
Django.
is,
Oh
and
yeah, Jackie
especially
Brown.
Django. Yeah, Django is the raciest uh, of the movies, I think.
Yeah, and I think Tarantino's average with naked men is higher than his average of naked women in movies.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I this I don't know why we're talking about this, but I don't feel like Quentin Tarantino is a particularly horny director.
No, he's not. No. It's, it's just something I noticed.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of very prominent full frontal male nudity in several movies,
All right.
and
This isn't mythological.
yeah, I already pointed out that we that was probably not a useful topic of discussion.
So, how about we start at the beginning, or we get to the beginning now? Do you
Okay.
remember prominently what symbol was shown in the snow at the very beginning?
Yeah, that was a Jesus on the cross,
Yes. Yes.
and it was shown at the very end too.
It was. It was sort of like a passage of time sort of marker,
Yeah.
passage back in time. I kind of think that this is another Christian movie of his that utilizes Christian mythology a lot. And I should back up and say I actually think Django used Christian mythology as well. Because if you think about it, there's actually something that was at the time slaves used as a story of freedom because they saw themselves as the Israelites uh,
Yeah.
who were slaves in the Bible. And also, Martin Luther King also said, I've been to the promised land, I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but it's there. That's the mountaintop speech. I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land, but I may not be there
Well,
with you.
yeah, and like slave spirituals were a huge thing
Explain
where
what's a
so
spiritual.
like gospel hymns, like where
Mm,
they would, while in the fields
hmm
as a kind of social activity or to keep time or something, would sing spirit, like, you know, gospel spiritual songs as as a group while out working.
hmm Yeah, exactly. And it's easy to see why, because you're sort of singing of this dream that you have to someday be free. And something that's interesting about Moses, it what and that's where I'm going with it, is I felt like what's his name? Christoph Waltz was the Moses figure there. Moses was not an Israelite, but he led the Israelites to freedom. And because he wasn't an Israelite, he couldn't get there and he died beforehand. And I feel like that's calling back to Christian mythology and seeing Christoph Waltz as Moses in that. In the promised land also is interesting. The promised land was Canaan, and Canaan was ruled by the evil Philistines, I think, or like they were ruled by somebody that needed to be killed to so
Yeah,
for
I
the
think
for the Israelites to settle there, and they were
yeah,
evil, and that's why they needed to be killed. And so Candyland is sort of that promised land where they got rid of all the bad stuff and they put good stuff in its place.
but this isn't Django that we're talking about.
I know, but I'm just saying the Christian mythology is carrying over. So in this movie, I think that there is a lot of Christian mythology, and it's apt that it starts with a cross.
I My reading of that was that the cross was completely covered in snow,
Mhm.
and sort of like I kind of read that as righteousness being concealed by the blizzard,
Mm.
and this blizzard is sort of hiding goodness, and
Hmm.
these terrible people are just going through this story in the total absence of any kind of
Yeah.
real justice.
Yeah, there's this brief moment in time of justice being concealed, like you said. And on either side of it, there's brightness and goodness. But in this dark time, that's forgotten and lost. Yeah.
Yeah,
By
the
the blizzard. And the blizzard represents some sort of dark event in, you know, in US history maybe.
yeah, or
Um
just like a separation from, I don't know, society, or separation from.
yeah, because that's another Western theme too, is this sort of Wild West. How do we make things work? How do
Mhm.
we civilize?
And it is strange that, like, ultimately the only truly virtuous character is the bounty hunter, the
Which one?
the
John, the hangman?
John, yeah, the hangman.
Yeah, he is.
Like, he's a complete jackass. Like, you hate this
He
person from minute one,
who?
but
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
then, like, because he's rude and mean, and the person that you're supposed to be rooting for is Sam Jackson,
Mhm.
is the major, because he's polite and friendly, and he's just trying to get into town, and the hangman is kind of harassing him and being extremely suspicious,
Mhm.
and you're really rooting for the major,
But they're not
and
enemies yet
they're not enemies at all.
at all. Yeah, they aren't. But I don't know. I kind of think that that's just in the West, you have to be tough.
Okay.
I think you're completely right. The hangman, he kind of is um he kind of is naive.
Yeah, like he's desperately holding on to his own personal vision of justice,
Uh-huh.
where,
To his ultimate detriment.
yeah, this well his story was always going to end with one of his bounties killing him. Everyone knew it,
Yeah.
but the major, despite knowing that the hangman was always going to, like, destined to die from his insane dedication to people getting dispassionate justice,
Hmm.
still had, like, a significant amount of respect for him. Like, that's that quote at the beginning, when the hangman catches you, you hang.
Hmm. Yeah. But being so boneheaded and so sanctimonious even, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He has tied himself to something evil. So he becomes inhibited by Domergu, and that holds him back from from doing good. Is what he really wants is to administer justice. But being but his naivete, I think, has tied him to this evil thing that is sort of an anchor to that goal.
Yeah, because if he didn't have this compulsion, he would have just shot her, and the gang probably would have, maybe they would have killed him on the road, but probably they would have just left him alone,
Yeah,
because
and also
they were legitimately scared of him, because they they outnumbered him 4-1, and they still spent this huge amount of time creating this ridiculous ruse.
uh-huh. Yeah, and there were things that he didn't pick up on that he really should have, throughout the story. That's why
Yeah,
I
because
say
he
he's
was
naive.
yeah, and he was so focused on Domergue as the obvious threat.
Mm-hmm. Like we'll get to him, but Maddox, he actually is a good sheriff because he sniffed out the Lincoln letter right away that it was a lie. And the hangman was, so pulled in by this lie that the lie was so it was saying such a good thing. So he was really pulled in by it. And Maddox saw right through it. He sniffed it out and he's like, he saw the context of the whole event that would have taken place. He's like, no, that's BS. It's total BS on the face of it.
Yeah, and like the less racist white person
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to believe in the Lincoln letter, which I thought was interesting.
How
Like he
so?
I'm not entirely sure what the Lincoln letter represents, but it represents something. It's important.
I have a theory.
And and the racist from the South sniffed it out immediately, like you said.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't believe in this. This can't be true. But the hangman wanted to believe in the Lincoln letter. It was the idea that Lincoln was in personal correspondence with this black soldier was really gratifying to him in some way, where
Yeah.
despite how unbelievable it is, like he wanted to believe in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the Lincoln letter represented something specific to Samuel L. Jackson. He said, let me the direct quote is the only way black folks is safe is when white folks is disarmed. And this letter does a great job of disarming white folks. So it was a lie out of necessity, kind of.
Yeah,
There was another quote that was kind of connected to that. Black folks are scared, white folks is safe. So those are the two competing ideas happening.
yeah, yeah. So that I did pick up on. Those are two very mirrored comments.
Yeah. It's really difficult because those sides are introduced at the beginning. Those two sides are very difficult to see a resolution to, you know.
Yeah,
There's very
the
little compromise there.
I okay. So so Lincoln himself represents this thing of the emancipatory white person.
Hmm.
The actual white savior. That maybe like allowing white people to view themselves in this way is disarming in a way that's necessary and harmless.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, even though it's a lie. It is
Yeah,
a lie.
yeah. Allowing people to believe that they have no racism within them
Hmm. Yeah.
is is probably like maybe that's the statement they're trying to make. Is like, oh, if we let these people believe that they're not racist at all, they'll be disarmed. They'll become less harmful.
Yeah. Plato has in the Republic, he presents this idea to keep society in order is to have what he calls a noble lie. And that's essentially a lie that you tell everyone and that only the elites know is a lie. And it makes everyone believe that they're good people when the truth is that our human nature is bad. But as long as we all think we're good people, then we will do behave well.
Yeah, the idea that of sort of keeping society almost
Innocent.
provincial. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So John the hangman died innocent. Oh, well, actually, no, he did no the yeah, he did learn the noble lie.
yeah. He was mad about it, like to the point where I was concerned that he was gonna come to blows with Samuel L. Jackson
Yeah.
right there at dinner.
Yeah. He was mad about it. Yeah, so let us move on. The Lincoln letter. Okay, and then we have Maddox. What do we think of Maddox?
He is the South, I think. Maybe like maybe he's one of two different visions of the South,
Hmm.
where the general is just
The
an
old
older
South.
generation,
Yeah.
unchanging. He's he lived racist. He's gonna die racist.
Yeah, and
And
and yeah, that's
Maddox kind of gets turned around a little bit. There's a moment of jolly cooperation, and I do mean jolly.
yeah.
They're very pleased with themselves during this.
How did you
Just
feel when that happened?
it felt triumphant.
Hmm. Like, did it actually affect you though? It affects me. It's like the Lincoln letter for me. It affects me every time I watch it.
I wouldn't say it was like that emotionally affected by it, but I
Mm,
did feel the sense of scars being healed and
hmm.
of what was originally
Obstacles
yeah,
overcome.
like what was originally like a an impassable gulf was passed in these shared trials and this pursuit of justice, because that's
Mhm.
what they both
All right, fine. Let's talk about the
care
end.
about. Okay, okay, yeah. So like anyone who would get anything out of the episode has already seen the whole movie anyway. So yeah, this is not a thing that you can just throw under for a road trip, and if you haven't seen the movie, this
Yeah,
isn't a
it's like,
replacement
huh.
for watching the
Yeah.
movie.
But that's kind of what I wanted to differentiate about with other podcasts. Because I listened to a podcast about Pulp Fiction that was like over 3 hours. And
It
that
was
was,
just a recounting of story events.
yeah. And it was just like playing like clips from it. And it's like, I know what this clip is. Like, I don't need to hear John Travolta say it again, you know?
Yeah, it's this is more of a book club and less of a book report.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
So very
Um,
at the very end, because
mhm.
it does we it probably is good to like address it now because we probably be referencing it through like in almost every scene that we talk about.
Mhm.
That yeah, like it is like I said, it's triumphant. It's justice being done
Mhm.
by these characters. It's these characters sort of coming together in this moment of kind of horrific violence.
Yeah, that's it, is like it is a very sentimental, cheesy kind of moment that would wallow in that if it were any other movie. But this movie, it doesn't come off cheesy.
Yeah, because you're watching a woman covered in the gore of her brother being strangled to death.
By a guy that has his balls shot off and uh a dying racist.
Yeah, but yeah,
Um
like it's yeah they're and they're like they're pulling this woman into the air as she's slowly strangling and like just laughing with each other and exclaiming at the beauty of it all. It's
yeah.
it's uh you know ain't that just pretty?
Yeah.
It's
You mentioned before that there had to be a gap that was closed between these two very distant ideas. So, what causes them, Samuel L. Jackson and Maddox, to come together?
I would say probably like a sense of like either justice or revenge, depending on how charitable you want to be with them.
Well, this is something that I wanted to bring up way back during the Pulp Fiction episode. What is the difference between justice and revenge?
Yeah, it's the lack of passion, like it's
Yeah.
like as stated in this movie.
Yeah. So there were there were a bunch of characters that were, that had a lot of stake in Daisy Domergue's death.
Yeah,
And except for two characters, and that was Samuel L. Jackson and Maddox. Neither of them cared what happened to her.
yeah,
So they were the two perfect people to deliver dispassionate justice.
yeah. Actually, yeah, you're totally right. And it was interesting to me that Maddox was so interesting in hearing her out and listening to her. He was he he because
No
you
deal,
as the
tramp.
audience, yeah, you as the audience are not sure if he's like legitimately hearing her out,
Hmm.
but he's not. He tells Sam Jackson, "No, I just want to hear this."
Really? Yeah,
Yeah,
because
like he's
oh, interesting. Because I thought he was legitimately hearing her out.
I didn't get
So
that.
why does he
Like
want?
it
So why does he
was
want to just hear it?
I'm not sure, but he's very he's very clear to Sam Jackson about the fact that he's not going to take her deal, and her
Yeah.
deal is a good deal. Like it seems like she doesn't have much leverage at the beginning of her spiel,
Hmm.
but by the end of it, like she actually has
A good
a good
point.
amount of yeah, where she's like, hey, you know, this guy's worth 12K, this guy's worth 15K, this guy's worth that. Then there's the corpses in the cart. You could walk out of this with like $50,000.
Hmm.
And Max is just like, nah, I want to kill you. You're
Yeah.
you're a murderer, and you caused this whole thing to happen. This is all your fault, and not only do you need to die, but you need to die by hanging.
That's right. The way John would have had
And
it.
yeah, and he even like sentences her as they're like raising her up into the
Well,
rafters.
that's what I was gonna say is I felt like him hearing her out is reminiscent of court case,
Yeah,
a
that was
court
her
proceeding.
trial.
That was her trial. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole like they kind of muddled their way through this uncivilized sort of atmosphere and cobbled together like the door. They cobbled together a a workman's like type of court case, like
Honestly,
on the
like
spot.
I like that idea. Like I like how you know now that you mentioned that I like the idea of Sam Jackson as prosecutor
Yeah.
because when he lines them all up against the wall and like
Yeah.
sets out his case to the sheriff. He's
Yeah.
like he's giving the sheriff his case.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, you know, a gunfight ensues, but then at the end of that, it's justice is carried out. Her
Hmm.
sentence is carried out.
And it was the right, and they came to the right decision, like and they did it dispassionately.
The movie itself is making the point that Reconstruction is gonna be a violent and angry process.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. I really do love this idea. It's not going to be perfect. Like humans are not perfect.
Yeah,
We're nobody's enlightened. All we can ask of everybody is just please do the best job you can. you
yeah,
know, just look to John the Hangman and look to his ideals, and we're not going to be able to meet them, you know, but we can get
mhm.
as good as we can get there as good as we can.
Yeah. Like it's that's actually yeah, because like Sam Jackson is almost inspired by like 'cause at the very beginning he is kind of in awe of John the Hangman,
He is, yeah.
and he that almost inspires him to hang Domergue at the very end.
Hmm. And you know what this is a lot like?
What?
That's a lot like a myth.
Oh yeah,
That's what myths do, is they inspire you to do the right thing.
yeah, because we all can't be John the Hangman. We can't all
We
you
can't be
know
that good.
we can't shackle ourselves to evil
Yeah.
and carry it to its destination.
Uh-huh. Because that's how John died, as sort of a martyr.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did John the Baptist die as a martyr?
I don't remember how John. I don't. John is such a common name. I don't want to like give John the Hangman
Okay, because
a
I have some
biblical
other
undertone.
I have some other name I have some other name theories too. Uh,
Uh,
you know what? But
uh
I'm gonna actually save that. Well, actually, I'll just say it.
okay.
Uh, Jody, Judas, and who it and remember in Pulp Fiction, we kind of insinuated that Tarantino had read Dante's Inferno,
Oh, oh
and
yeah, but
in the
the whole like this descending into hell
yeah, in the
and going through the
center,
layers.
what's at the bottom of hell? It's the devil, Judas, and
It's
Brutus,
Brutus, and one of the other conspirators.
Cassius.
Might have been, but Cassius didn't stab him though. That he was one of
Oh,
the.
I forget.
It was it was somebody who's important.
But
Uh,
anyway, so
yeah,
if Jody is Judas hiding in the basement,
yeah.
Domergue is the devil. And at the end, they hung the devil and they turned her into a very evocative symbol of America. And if you want a clue what that is, think about Domergue and Jody's nationality.
Oh, they're French.
Mm-hmm. And what symbol of America was associated with the French?
Okay, so the idea that she was turned into the Statue of Liberty
Yes.
is a little. One is that like nothing about her like liberty means nothing in this movie. Like there's no if you're gonna have like a famous or a statuesque depiction of a concept, like justice would make a lot more sense. But I don't think that's I don't think the symbolism is there. I don't.
But just hear me out.
Okay.
What they came together to do was to turn the devil into something beautiful.
So
To turn
I
a
mean,
to turn something of real evil into a symbol of justice and
liberty is not
or
justice.
brotherhood even. That's that's powerful. That's what a myth does. It takes these real world things that are ugly and we turn those bad parts of our human nature into through myth into virtuous symbols.
Yeah, like so I do I'm now following you where you're going here. So the idea that when they're remarking at how beautiful this scene is, it's not them like remarking on like an actual physical beauty of what's going on, but more of like this isn't justice wonderful? Isn't it
Yeah, exactly.
like all this all this pain that happened is like we can't undo the pain, but we can we can make justice and we can sort of be in awe of of justice being done.
Hmm. Yeah, and that is beautiful. And they
Yeah.
can take pride. They should take pride in that. Because remember, they both knew that they were going to die. So there's no material good. There's no really nothing materially that life has left for them. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing, no money is going to do any good for them. The only thing that they can do that's any good,
Is bring her to justice.
that's kind of a culmination of that theme because we're on the latter part of Tarantino's mythology. And so
Yeah,
I think we're
his
closing a
second to
lot.
last movie.
Yeah. And I think we're closing a lot of loops now in his because it's crazy that he's been working out all these ideas for 30 years. And
Hmm.
now we're getting like the culmination into a lot of these ideas and like out from it being an artist for 30 years and thinking really deeply about these things. These are finally the kind of like the definitive thoughts that are being put on him.
And this is okay. This is why I said earlier that the most symbol-y thing in the movie is the Lincoln letter.
Yeah. It's
And
almost a
and
pure
that's
symbol.
yeah, exactly. It's pure symbolism, and that's why I said earlier that it was like this. It's this it's this thing given down from Abraham Lincoln himself. The
Another martyr.
yeah, like well, and also like this vision of white savior
Hmm.
that is so disarming because white people want to believe in it,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
the
Lincoln.
reason why
Yeah, Lincoln.
and
Lincoln
and
bridged both white and black.
and and the sheriff like just doesn't believe in it at all at the beginning. Like he's just like, oh, that's 100% bunk. There's no way.
Materially bunk,
Well,
but symbolically,
he doesn't trust in it symbolically either at the time. But like later at the very end, he's disarmed by the symbolism of the letter. Like
yeah,
he
he still
like
doesn't believe
is
in it. He still knows it's bunk, but now he sees the purpose of it.
yeah he sees the beauty of this almost lie of being like, oh, you know, you can be not racist. If you
Yeah,
this is the this is you can be like Lincoln. You can be one of the not racist people.
yeah, but
And like at the very end, he's like, yeah, I can be.
yeah, and we all can be, and but Tarantino's doing something a little bit more than like a little more than a lot of other movies that preach to you. He's saying in your nature, original sin in our human nature, but we can rise above it and
Yeah,
rise
even
to an
even
ideal of something that we are not, and
yeah,
that's,
even if even if it's not true, even if
yeah.
like even if the letter isn't really from Lincoln,
Hmm.
if we believe if we believe and we act accordingly, then the letter can still do good. It can still be beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And honestly, I think we should just end there.
Yeah, like
You
I
know,
I was actually thinking that too, like where
I mean,
going back
we barely touched on Joe Gage.
we did, but like going back and like hashing out like all these bit players and like all the things that they
Yeah.
may or may not have said, like feels like a disservice to the end that
Yeah.
I did not think very hard about Joe Gage. And maybe that's my mistake, or
I think it is
maybe
your
Joe Gage isn't
I think you should blame
okay.
yourself for that. Yeah. Uh, one second, Nick. Mary Todd is calling, so I think
Oh,
I
of
gotta get
course.
going.